Welcome to our webinar on direct certification this afternoon. I'm Michelle Stevens, a program specialist at the Department of Education, Nutrition Services Office, and I'm joined here today with several of my coworkers. All of the participants today are muted, and we would ask that if you have a question, instead of raising your hand, please type your question into the chat box. We will monitor any questions as they come in and do our best to answer any questions today, or post the questions and answers to our website. The presentation will be recorded and posted to our website after the holidays. For those of you who are calling in on the telephone, please remember to mute your phones, please. The Department of Education Nutrition Service Office received an improvement grant for our direct certification system. This presentation is designed for school lunch staff that work directly with this system. This would be the staff at the school that are responsible for ensuring students are receiving free and reduced benefits for the school lunch program. The grant allowed us to develop a new look to the direct certification system and hopefully make it easier for you to use. I'll go over the login requirements and each of the modules in the system. How your student enrollments are collected to make a direct certification match, how to set up email notifications, give security rights to the person responsible for managing benefits, and reviewing your possible match list, and how to use the individual student lookup. New to the system are reports. I'll show you how these are beneficial, and the direct verification can be used to verify applications for that verification process that's required November 15th. So the first step is to access the direct certification system. It requires that you log on to the CNP system. Every authorized representative, or sometimes we refer to them as ARs, of the School Food Authority, the SFA, is given a username and password to access the CNP system. The authorized representative is assigned as the administrator and has the rights to assign other users within the School Food Authority. A best practice for each user is to have their own user ID and password. Usernames and passwords shouldn't be shared to ensure accountability within the system. For example, if the school bookkeeper is responsible for submitting the claim for reimbursement, that person can be given their own username and password to access the claims part of the CNP system. If the secretary is responsible for the match list, they could be given their own username and password to access just the direct certification system. Written instructions are available in the CNP system with step-by-step instructions on how to assign security rights. This user manual can be viewed by clicking on Applications from the dark blue menu bar and then click on Download Forms. There you will find the CNP user manual for security administration. Since only the authorized representative can assign new users, you must be logged in as the administrator to set up new users. The dark blue menu bar, select Security, and then click on User Manager. When the User Manager screen appears, you're going to add a new user. This will display the user profile. Here you will add the information about the new user, complete the user's information, the login information, and security base. This is the section where you select the groups you want the user to have access to. How the profile is completed grants the user access to specific security groups within the system. After the user profile is completed, the next step is the user assigned group. This is where you manage access to different parts of the CNP system. If the person is to have access to the direct certification system, Make sure that CNP Direct Cert verification is selected. If this is not selected, they will get an unauthorized message if they try to access the system. So those are the steps for assigning users in the CNP system. There are a few more steps inside the direct certification system that I'll explain later in my presentation. Access the new direct certification system from the dark blue menu bar and click on Applications and then select Direct Certification, Direct Verification. The next screen displays with a description of these two processes. Again, click on Direct Certification and Direct Verification. The new look of the direct certification system allows you to navigate by clicking on the colored tiles or by navigating from the dark blue menu bar at the top and selecting from the drop-down lists. The Home button will always bring you back to this screen, which displays the colored tiles. In order for the students enrolled in your school to be matched with direct certification database, we need to have enrollment data. USDA requires that school food authorities upload student enrollment records 3 times a year, August, October, and February. We obtain enrollment data from Advisor for public schools and Unique ID for non-public schools. It is not necessary to upload into both Advisor and the direct certification system. So the first tile I want to discuss is enrollment. There are 2 ways for enrollment data to be submitted into the direct certification system. You can upload a student information file, or you can enter student information individually from the enrollment screen. I want to clarify that student enrollment records are a list of the school's entire student body or the school roster, not just the students that are eligible for free or reduced benefits. If you're going to upload a file, you need to follow the template layout, which is available by clicking on here to open the Excel file. The template is a Microsoft Excel file. The worksheet is protected and formatted so that you can only enter into the columns listed. These are the data fields that are used to match your enrollment with the direct certification database. The school building number is the 3-digit number assigned by NDE at the data center. All the fields are required except the local student ID. The file name will be your 6-digit county district number, followed with the letter A for the first upload and letter B if there are optional uploads. This way you can track how many uploads that you've made into the system. Just a nice naming convention. Or you can enter student enrollment individually if only a few students are needed to be entered. This could be helpful when you have new students transfer into your school during the school year, or if you don't have very many students to match. Matches are made nightly, so any new matches will appear on your match list the following day. I want to point out that there is online help on each of the tiles simply by clicking on Show Help. So this is an example of the help for the student enrollment, and each tile will have help. The next tile I want to go over is the match list. This tile displays the last list date. A match was determined for one of your students. An email notification is sent to the authorized representative and the claim contact listed on the program application. I'll explain how to edit who gets this information later. The match list displays the students who are eligible for free or reduced benefits as determined by the Qualify column. You can change what is displayed on this screen by selecting the list date range, or clicking on Search All Dates, or selecting how many student names appear, so you can have 10, 25, or 50 by clicking on the drop-down arrow. You can sort the list by last name by clicking on the last name header, and you can print a copy of the list by clicking on Print List. Or you can choose to export the list to a CVS comma-separated file or a Microsoft Excel file to be uploaded into your point-of-service software. Let's look at the table headers in more detail. The list date displays the date a record was added to the match list, or when the qualifying program was updated. This is also the date when the benefits begin for the household. The qualify column is the qualifying program for benefits. The programs are abbreviated, but when you hover over the abbreviation with your mouse, the full name appears. So in my example, SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Each of the columns can be sorted by clicking on the header. This is helpful for sorting in alphabetical order or by last name or by qualifying program. Action is the last column listed. However, it's optional, and I will explain how it can be used after showing you how to view the qualifying programs. A list of qualifying programs can be viewed by clicking on Maintenance from the dark blue menu bar and select Qualifying Programs. Here is the full description of the qualifying programs and the program priority used for matching. For example, SNAP, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, trumps all other qualifying programs. The direct certification system displays the highest qualifier on your match list. So I want to discuss the options in the action column. These actions allow you to edit your match list. I say this is optional because once the eligibility of your students on the match list have been entered into your point-of-service software and the households have been notified of their benefits, it's not required to edit the match list. However, some schools like to edit the list prior to downloading for use. Here are the different actions available if you choose to edit the match list. Accept just confirms the match is your student, and you can actually accept them all at once. There's an accept all at the bottom of the list. Transfer can be used to change the name of a school building or remove the student if the student leaves your school entirely. The remove action only appears if the qualifying program is Medicaid reduced. The reason for this qualifier to have a remove option is if the household submits an application and the income on the application would make the household eligible for free benefits, you may remove the student from your match list so free benefits can be assigned. These actions are tracked in the system, and I will show you how to review them under Reports later in my presentation. As I mentioned, we are conducting nightly matches, and if there is an update to your match list, an email notification is automatically sent to the authorized representative and the claim contact from the program application. You can change who gets this email notification regarding new matches. This can be done by clicking on Email Notification and select from the drop-down list, Add New Contacts, or Manage Existing Contacts, and or turn off notifications. If a person who's not on the program application is responsible for the match list, you can have the system send the email notification directly to that person instead of having it to forward it to them. Under Maintenance, you will select User Security to give user rights to the direct certification system. as long as the user was previously set up within the CNP system. The security screen will display a drop-down list of district users. Select the user who needs access to the system. If no names appear in the drop-down list, then either all users in the system have administrator rights, or the user's IDs are not set up in the CNP system. Please refer to the previous slides to set up a user within the CNP. User rights can be assigned to view only or modify. The system requires that at least one of these 3 individuals receives email notifications: the authorized representative, the food service director, or the claim contact. In order to improve the number of students directly certified, we are also matching records that are similar but not a 100% match. We call this the possible match list. If you have students on the possible match list, we would like you to review them. This can help increase the number of students directly certified, therefore eliminating the need for household applications and possibly reducing the number of households selected for verification. It is important to understand that you are the determining official and need to review this information carefully. On these tables, you will compare your students' information with a record from the direct certification database that will be displayed online called Possible Match. To review, you're going to move across the record in the table and compare the fields about the student and the possible match, such as their last name, first name, their date of birth, their gender, the city. Each record is separated by a black horizontal line. As you move from record to record, it will become highlighted in yellow to make it easier for you to see the records you're comparing. The fields highlighted in orange indicate differences. Carefully compare these fields and determine if the student and the possible match are the same person. If they are, you will select match and the student will be placed on your match list. If no match is checked, they will be removed from this table and not placed on the match list. If you're unsure, leave the check boxes blank. These students can be entered into the student lookup with more information to help you make a decision. We'll discuss student lookup module next. At the bottom of the possible match table, there are 2 action buttons, which saves your results. The Submit and Go to Match List saves your matches and takes you to the match list. If you click on Submit and Continue, it saves your work, and then you can, it will save the work that you've completed so far and allow you to continue reviewing the list. When possible matches are added to the match list, you will see an undo and action column. If you determine the match was made in error, you can undo the match. The student lookup tile allows you to search for students that could be directly certified. As I mentioned, it could be used to confirm a student that is on the possible match list by adding more information about the student or to look up newly enrolled students. If you learn the new student was directly certified at their previous school, you could look up the student and have them added to your match list. As you click on the student lookup tile, the first thing you must do is agree to the confidentiality agreement in order to use this function. The purpose is to identify students that are enrolled in your school that may be eligible, and you have to have a legitimate educational interest in accessing this information. There are 2 ways to search for a student. The preferred way is to enter the NDE student ID. If there is a match, it will have a 100% score this way, and you just need to accept the match. The second way is to search by student information. The fields that are required to do this are last name, first name, gender, and date of birth. Additional fields for address, city, or parent, guardian may give you a better search, or would be fields you could use if you were trying to confirm a student from the possible match list and needed more information. If there are multiple children in the household, you can click on Add to the search queue, and the names will appear in the table as you go. After all the household students are added, then you could submit the search to the queue. The lookup results displays in a few minutes. If you stay on this screen, you can click the refresh button to see the results. If you leave the system, you'll use the lookup results tile to see the results when you come back in. The lookup results require you to review the match like you do in the possible match table. The results table is similar to the possible match table, but it's slightly different in how you review the data. Here you have the choice to review or remove. The review screen for the student lookup displays differently than possible match table. Here the data displays side by side for you to review. Review the information carefully and determine if the student is a match. If the student is a match, you will need to enter the student's NDE student ID and the school in order to update the match list. If the ID is correct, the student will be added to your match list, and the action column in the match list will contain the undo or transfer if you determine the match was made in error. The final step will be to double check your accuracy and determine if the data is a match before the student is added to your match list. The verification process is completed annually by November 15th. Direct verification can be used to assist the verification process before sending letters to the households. After you have selected your 3% sample of applications, you have the option to use direct verification to see if there is a match. To access the direct verification, click on the tile or select from the navigation bar. The database used for direct verification uses additional data, including Nebraska Medicaid CHIP data and 133% of poverty level for free eligibility. You can upload application information, or you can enter individual applications one at a time. The majority of schools in Nebraska are only required to verify a few applications, so entering them in one at a time may be the easiest method for you. For larger SFAs, a file should be uploaded. If you plan to upload a file, you will need to follow the template layout. If the results match the household eligibility on the application, verification is complete. You are not required to contact the household. Just print the list for documentation that direct verification was completed. However, if there is not a match, you will follow up with the household using attachment F, we must check your application, and continue by having the household submit documentation. The final area in the direct certification systems to review are the reports. The reports provide information regarding the action that has taken within each of the direct certification system functions. For example, the match list report shows students that have been transferred or removed from your match list. The possible match list report shows if students were accepted or matched, and who the user was and the date the match was made. The Lookup results report also shows the details of the actions that were taken for each student. And the full roster report shows the student records uploaded into the unique ID for non-public schools, the direct certification uploads, or into NSSRS and for public schools. The enrollment report shows student uploads into the enrollment screen. And our last slide here has some resources for you if you need some assistance with the unique ID or advisor or the Department of Education's portal for uploading into advisor. And we have an 800 number to call if you have any questions, or you certainly can email any of us. Thank you for joining us for the webinar. We'll take a look at the questions and see if we can answer any of the questions that we have so far today. In the email that we sent out earlier, we understand that some of you had some trouble seeing the PowerPoint presentation, and Justine had sent you out an actual copy of the PowerPoint that we just used today, and the script is right on the bottom of the PowerPoint, so that may be helpful. You can review that on your own. So at this time, we don't have any questions in the chat, so certainly feel free to reach out with us if you have any questions. Just contact us at the office. Thank you for joining us today. So we do have a question about whether or not all students have to be uploaded into the enrollment. And our first choice is to actually use advisor or use student unique ID for non-public schools. Once your enrollment is uploaded in either of those portals, then we have your enrollment data. And then that night we make a match with your data with Health and Human Services. And then if there are any matches, they'll show up on your match list the following day. So that's the preferred way to do it. You certainly can use the CNP system to upload into the enrollment table, but you don't need to do both. You can do one or the other. So I hope that helps. If you have any more questions about that, certainly let us know.
after the holidays.
So as I mentioned earlier, this was recorded, even though some of you were having trouble seeing it. We will post the presentation after the holidays. And then in the future, we're going to have some online training where we're going to break the training down into each of the tiles to help you go through that. And the other thing that I found very helpful when I was using the system is, as I mentioned, in each of your tiles, if you click on Show Help, it has a step-by-step of how each of those tiles work. And they're not very long. I'd really encourage you to read those instructions. And don't be afraid to just get in there and navigate around the system and check out the new functionality of it. Really no harm that you can do unless you make matches that you shouldn't be, that aren't actually matches. That'd be the worst case scenario, but there's that undo button.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for joining us today, and watch our website for the video when it's posted. Thank you.